show of hands, should men pay for first dates? Is that everybody except for you? Okay.
Start with someone else.
Show of hands, should men be protectors from everybody?
What does that mean?
Protect
Yeah.
you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
From other men.
Sure, yeah. Or what about
Yes.
a woman? Or are you going to throw down with the chick?
How often are women attacking?
I see that shit.
Yeah, no,
all
these
the
bitches be
time.
crazy.
She worked in a strip club. I mean, shit. She
True,
saw
I'm
some
just
stuff.
not in the right location.
I got jumped by so many girls. Like, it's crazy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know, girl.
I've never gotten to a fight being
Wait,
a
you live
stripper,
in
man.
Atlanta? Or sorry, you live in Georgia?
Wait, yeah, Georgia,
I know,
bitch.
right?
Yeah.
It goes down
It was
in
lucrative
Georgia.
in our day.
Yeah.
It's in the
I'm not
South.
in the
Deadass.
bars. I'm not in the club.
Have you ever pulled out a girl's weave?
Wait, what?
Me?
Yeah, have
Hair
you gone to
pull.
fight?
Or
with-
I don't want their hair, Brian.
I've not
Just
even
hair
gotten
in general.
Learn how to
Yeah,
fight.
there we go.
Don't pull
Yeah.
hair.
Hair in
man.
general.
All right.
Leave fucking hair alone.
So wait, really quick, protectors, men should be protectors. Show of hands. No, okay. Show of hands, should men be providers?
Without the
Those are
preclusion of
shittiers
women
too.
Okay.
being able to also.
Show of hands, should men open your car door on a first date or dates?
Yes.
Chivalry is
Okay.
good.
Is that a
Nice.
thing?
Show of
It should be.
hands-
Oh, shit.
Show of
Or it used
hands,
to be.
should men be chivalrous?
Yes.
Some of these things
You're
I
saying
just,
so many
hold on.
terminologies I don't know. I feel stupid right now. I actually feel dumb.
It's okay.
Oh, fuck.
Like a gentleman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
Like back in the old days.
Show of hands, should men observe the sidewalk rule? So this is when you're walking with your date or girlfriend, wife, the man should typically walk on the side of the sidewalk closest to the street where the cars are. Okay?
That's the thing.
Show of hands, who here thinks if you have a boyfriend or husband, and then in an instance where only one person can survive, should he sacrifice his life to save you?
Yes.
Can we?
Should he take the bullet?
I think
Yes.
whoever's able to
Take an arrow, a bullet.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
pushed over a cliff. Whatever.
Okay. And then, so hold on. Here's where I'm a bit confused, Jazz. And I'm not trying to pick on you, but I think you're probably
I'm picked on.
you're getting a little bit picked on. But you're
Girl, you just
it's kind
like
of a more
smart-ass
conservative
bitch,
panel, I guess. So,
like-
of all the first dates you've been on, who paid?
The men.
Have you ever paid on the first date?
I probably have split a tab out of kindness.
On the first date?
Yes.
Okay. But overwhelmingly majority of the man paid.
Yes.
Okay. And then when it comes to initiative, like, are you making the first move, like maybe approaching a guy, or is the guy almost overwhelmingly the one making the first move?
Ooh, I'd say it's pretty even, I think.
Okay. Pretty
Like
even?
first move is like asking them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty even.
Pretty even. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's see here.
They think I'm trolling. I'm not trolling, bitch. I'm just like this. Anyone who knows me knows.
That's her.
No, I literally
That's how she is.
anyone who knows me knows I'm always sucking on a lollipop. If you see me out in the club, see me anywhere, I always got a ring pop
Oh
on
my
me.
God, who the hell
I know.
cares?
Okay.
Fucking bitch. Suck my clit.
What the fuck?
But you couldn't, because you couldn't afford it.
What the fuck?
WTF?
You can, by the way, Mary, you're able to pull these up. You can show the super chats. I don't.
It's in the chat.
Nah, this motherfucker thinks I'm trolling. The
So,
fuck?
and then I guess final question for you, Jazz. In terms of physical attraction, well, we kind of went over this, but not factoring in like later revealed political positions. Generally, like, do you find conservative or liberal men more attractive?
Anyone I can talk philosophy with, because that's just my interest. So I find that to be pretty even.
But like, of the
Politically.
liberal men that you do encounter, do they measure up in terms of, like, I understand for you would probably find it attractive if somebody meshes with you when it comes to your politics, right? Like, you'd find that to be a pro or a benefit. But disregard, I guess, sort of putting that aside, well, comparing the conservative men and the liberal men, like, would you almost wish that the conservative men weren't conservative because the other characteristics they possess, you find those attractive, or you just find them more, they're just more, happen to be
Yes.
more physically attractive?
Well, maybe not physically attractive, but in the area I live, the liberal men are more artsy and they're driven in a sense, but I like men who go to work and you know what I mean? So most of the time, if we're disregarding like political views, conservative men usually have the traits outside of politics
Interesting.
that I am attracted to. So yeah, I'm looking for like the perfect mesh of a person that
Right.
doesn't exist at all.
It's tough. It's tough out there in
Yeah.
Georgia. And so you,
Oh, you live in Georgia.
yeah.
Oh, like you still live there?
There's so many good men in Georgia.
cool.
It's such a
Oh,
lie.
you flew out here, bitch. Okay.
Maybe not the liberal,
Wait, do you live in Atlanta?
blue-haired.
Well, sure, but if we're speaking in general,
Sure. And I think the other thing I was going to ask was, can you reconcile, because when you were discussing what feminism is, you're like, well, as it relates to feminism, you think that pretty much across the board, men and women have equal rights, at least as bestowed upon
Well,
them by the government. Or you don't think men and women have equal rights?
Well, at the moment, Roe v. Wade was turned over federally, so that's a law that has control over women's bodily autonomy, and there is no law that controls men's choice over their body. So I think that's a discrepancy.
Actually,
Men also can't get pregnant.
Actually, so hold on. There's three things I'll give you here.
It went right back where it was supposed to go. Back to the States. That's where it's supposed to go.
It's true.
Right back where it's supposed to
think
go.
it's
And it was
important to
enacted
set-
the year I was born, 1972.
I think it's important to set federal precedents
No,
for
it
things
wasn't.
So,
as important as that.
So I guess my count here would be, one, as it relates to reproductive rights, men don't have any reproductive rights. So in terms of there being a comparative inequality between men and women, I would actually say that if you wanted equality between men and women, and that was your stated goal, despite perhaps what women want or female advocacy, you would actually have to entirely roll back abortion rights completely for there to be a semblance of equality between men and women.
Bingo.
Because men have no reproductive rights, ergo, equality would dictate women should have no reproductive rights also. I know that that wouldn't be what women want, but that would actually create equality.
Well, not necessarily, because women are the only one in the equation that can give birth.
I agree with
What is
you.
a woman?
It takes
I
to
agree
get
with you, but
pregnant.
if we're doing a comparative...
Men don't ever have to make the choice of if they should hold a baby in their stomach or not.
Yeah, sure. I agree with that.
So the reason that women should be allowed to choose is because they will be holding the baby, whereas the men don't have that option. Therefore, there isn't a law to
I
suggest
agree
that
with
there
you
is.
to the degree that, yes, you're right, only women, well, I don't know if, well,
Go
depends on your, yeah.
People with a uterus, sure.
Well, that's your words, not mine.
Yeah.
I agree with you, yes, only women can get pregnant. But again, if we're doing a comparison when it comes to, well, what rights do men have that women don't? Again, I would just say if we're doing a comparison of equality between men and women, you would not be able to say that it's something that uniquely impacts women. But if we're doing a comparison of rights between men and women.
I'm saying we're fairly equal on paper, sure.
Sure. Okay. So, but your position was more so geared. Yeah. So we'll just move on to that. Your position was more so geared towards, or wait, hold on. There's one other thing I want to say. You said men don't have any constraints on their bodily autonomy. This is actually state down, so that I'll give you 3 examples. I mentioned this before. Circumcision. I prefer to call it infant genital mutilation.
I'd agree.
Well, infant male genital mutilation, because baby girls don't have their genitals mutilated in the United States. There's maybe like some, I don't know if it's like under Islamic, even then I'm pretty sure it's outlawed in the United States anyways. So this would be evidence of baby boys not being able to give their informed consent to have their
Yes.
genitals mutilated upon birth.
But there is an option. The parents hold the option. It is normalized that it does get cut. It usually gets cut without asking, but there is the option. So there is the choice.
I would say it's systemic in the sense that...
If it were illegal, that would be the issue, and that would be an equal discrepancy that you could
Right, but
suggest.
I would argue that there's no law, which I think there should be, preventing this barbaric and
Okay, I
outdated
would agree.
practice.
I would agree then.
And so I think there ought to be a law that is
choice.
No. There's no choice.
Oh, that you can't snip them
I don't
at
care
all.
what your religion is. You
Okay.
can't mutilate the genitals of a baby boy. That's my position. I don't care what your religion is. There's
Yeah.
no religious grant. I think this is a barbaric practice.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I
I
don't think
think-
the health standard exists either. I don't think it's.
Well, and I also think it's systemic too, because the entire healthcare system is systemic. You have an abundance of female pediatricians that are performing this thing. You have single mothers who are choosing to have their baby boys be circumcised, and then you have like a cultural and social phenomenon which kind of relates. I mean, there's like this argument about like it's healthier and cleaner and more hygienic. There's some disputes there. There's clearly other countries
Yeah.
where there's not circumcision, and you can clean, the penis without the need
Yeah.
for that. But the other component here would be like women's own stated dating preferences once they become adults is like, well, I prefer. So what impact does that have socially and culturally, where women have a really strong preference, genital preference for men who are circumcised? And I would say that that's like another factor there. But that relates to bodily autonomy. The second thing I would argue is forced military conscription. The draft, that's clearly the state down saying, men, you can be ultimately sent off to some foreign country, or in the event of like an invasion, I suppose, whatever, you could be sent to go and die effectively, or be harmed, or go to war. That would be taking away men's bodily autonomy. Further, if men don't register for the selective service, they can be, well, there's a whole bunch. They can't vote. They lose out on certain federal jobs, certain federal aid. They lose out. It's technically a felony, $250,000 fine. So there's all kinds of negative.
So you're against any laws that restrict male bodily autonomy, like being sent to the draft?
I'm against circumcision. The draft, I think, war bad, but also war is just going to be, unless there's some sort of like total massive shift in like a technological singularity where like the world we live in 50 years from now is like so far beyond. This would probably happen through AI or like advancements in technology so far beyond what our human minds can even comprehend, that war has just completely been eradicated. I don't think that'll be on the scale of 50 years, but I would say that as it currently stands, war is an inevitability. And so there are circumstances where I don't think it should be the case as a male advocate that men should be subject to war, and war is a specifically gendered male grievance, but it just is sort of a reality that nations and countries are not going to reject their ability to call upon its citizenry in the event of like an invasion or a war. Yes, the nations are going to reserve their right to force men to fight. Go ahead.
I just have to have something to add about war.
Okay.
My father was not drafted into Vietnam for one reason. And it was funny because we were, right after dinner, we were talking about it, and I have two other sisters. And my dad, he never had anything to drink at dinner, and still he had his milk right after dinner. And he was standing at the sink, and we're like, yeah, Dad, why weren't you drafted? Well, he was like, my balls were too big. Yeah, I guess bone spurs is a thing. And I guess having balls that are too big is a thing too. I don't know, I've never seen my dad's balls, but shit, right?
Shit.
Shit, yeah.
Shit, man.
Shit is right.
That's crazy, son.
Yeah.
Shit.
Somebody's balls are too big to get into military. There you go, or be drafted. So there it is.
I didn't
Just
know that.
like
That's
Trump with his
crazy.
bone spurs,
That
it's
makes
true.
sense. I totally-
And a ball's too big is also freaking
Giant.
true.
Your dad had.
My
elephant
father
balls.
has
too
got
many balls?
elephant, and of course he's the one with prostate cancer. So, but he didn't get the. He's not neutered.
not trying to laugh,
He's not
but
neutered.
shit.
He's not neutered like that. He just got the prostate removed. But yeah.
Okay,
So,
and
just
then
to-
look, my final point here is when it comes to the men lacking bodily autonomy, in the event of, so for example, if the state can force men to work, and so we've done away, I think in the 18th century, or maybe it was the early 19th century, I forgot the exact date, we did away with with debtors' prisons. So if you have a debt to somebody, they used to be able to send you to prison, right?
Correct.
No longer can you be sent to prison for a debt.
Nope.
Except as a man, if you owe child support to a woman. Now, again, to be fair,
If she
this
requests, she can request it.
hold on. So this is gender neutral, to be fair. A woman who's behind on her child support could arguably also be sent to prison. Although I would argue, first off, the majority of child support, I think it's 93%, goes in the direction of men to women. So it impacts some women, but it's overwhelmingly men. In the same way that you might argue that like SA, we would agree that men are also victims of SA, but you would probably say this impacts women more because they're more likely to be the victim or whatever. So in this case, that would be another example of men lacking bodily autonomy because the government can basically say, for example, and it could be under like really kind of shitty circumstances. Like, for example, a female teacher could essay one of her underage students and she could get pregnant by that student, where essentially she raped him, and then she gets pregnant. The state can then force that child to pay child support to her, despite one, there being a crime that occurred, and so forth. So that's kind of an extreme example, but another example that's probably a bit more frequent. There's a couple, maybe they're in a
So
situation.
do you support male bodily autonomy or do you not?
Well, hold on.
'Cause I don't
I'll
really-
get to that. But
Okay.
so the more realistic example might be like there's a boyfriend and girlfriend or a situationship. They're sleeping together, but the guy's not wanting to have a child, and she gets pregnant. She unilaterally chooses to keep the child because women can do that. They can choose to get an abortion, and the man can't do anything. They can choose to keep the child. The man can't do anything. He can't opt out. So the men can essentially be forced into fatherhood and basically be debt slaves for 18 plus years, or sometimes even up to 21 plus years, depending on the state. So I'm in favor of male bodily autonomy, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find it funny that you're in favor of male bodily autonomy but not women's.
You didn't even hear my position
I did.
on abortion. What's my position on
Oh,
abortion?
go ahead then. Are you pro-life or pro-choice?
Well, it's really hard to say on that one. I would say,
Or just say if you support women's autonomy.
I would say that there are very compelling arguments for the pro-life side. So I'll just go ahead and say, yeah, pro-life. However, what I am going to say is, I would say that if I'm looking at the current state of affairs descriptively, there are states where women retain the right to have an abortion. For example, California, women can have an abortion in the state of California.
Yes.
My argument from a men's rights perspective is, in any state, because I'm just working with like within the current system, right? So it would be a fair proposition if abortion was completely outlawed, then yes. If a man gets a woman pregnant, despite him not wanting to be a father, he's on the hook for child support. Sure. But in states where women secure the right and retain the right to have an abortion, men should have a corresponding right to called legal paternal surrender. Men, in the same way that women can murder their unborn children, men should be able to walk away and essentially sever their relationship if they so choose. They shouldn't, obviously they can't force the woman to get an abortion, but in states where there's abortion rights, men should have some corresponding legal paternal surrender where they can say, well, I don't want to be a father. I don't want the paternal responsibility. I don't want to be financially responsible in the same way you would probably say a woman who isn't ready to be a mother or isn't financially ready to raise a child, you would say that would be a justified reason to have an abortion. So too should it be the case that men should be able to escape responsibility
Yeah, I
from
agree.
child support or any sort of paternal responsibility.
Yeah, I think gender-specific laws, like you're suggesting that men have to take care of a child that they maybe don't want because the woman wants it, is unfair.
Sure.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I think we've come to a point in society where nobody wants to take responsibility for their actions. And every time you have sex, no matter what contraceptive you're on, they're not all 100%, you are risking a possible pregnancy. So every time you have sex, you have to be okay with the fact that there's, a 5 to 10% chance that I could get pregnant having sex. But the problem is nobody wants to take responsibility for their actions, so everyone's using abortion as birth control, right? And I don't even agree with the fact that a father should be able to walk away from a mom and let her struggle and be a single mom and not pay child support. I think when you take that action, when you have sex, you should therefore have the responsibility of that child because your actions have consequences.
You don't believe in abortion?
No, I don't believe in abortion.
Oh. But like,
At all.
what if
What
it's
she's saying is
the
true, though. Like,
eptopic?
when two people have sex,
That's
there
not
is
abortion.
You're
always a percentage
you're assuming
of...
a risk, no matter what.
Yeah, you're assuming a risk, but if you simply don't have the resources to take care of a child,
Then you make it work. You sacrifice.
Really? But what if that child has a terrible life?
exactly.
And what if the baby daddy is like actually criminally horrible?
Wouldn't it be worse to murder the child than to give
It's
it
not-
a
well,
chance?
we also
at life?
disagree on
How is it murdering
when life
if it's like in the beginning stages of
It's
the,
a life.
you believe like life
science
begins-
Kids can
Science
have bad lives
You know
with
that
moms
science
and
is,
dads
like,
too.
actually
It just
not-
depends on how you want to treat your kids, man. You got moms and dads that are married and they treat their kids like shit. So
Period,
if
bitch.
a kid turns out bad, well, it can be a lot of factors, but
You don't have to keep.
Let me
you
give an
don't-
example for you. So I had a friend. This man who got her pregnant told her she was gonna be a terrible mother. She was not gonna be a terrible mother. He just like totally brought her down. He said he didn't want to be in the child's life. He basically forced her to get an abortion. Like, what do you say in that circumstance?
So he can't force a woman to get an abortion.
He basically did. He said, I don't want to be part of the child's life. I'm not going to be a part of this. Like, so what do you say to that girl that has no
so
means?
he didn't force her. He's just saying, I'm not going to pay
But what
for
do you
it."
say to a girl that has no means to provide for that child who, like,
I say you figure it out.
so do you have a 2-parent household?
What do you mean? Like my
Do you have a
parents?
mom and dad?
I do.
So you don't understand because you have not been in that circumstance.
Poverty is also a cycle. So if you already
Yes.
lack resources and you feel like you can't take care of a child, you have a
There
child.
are over
can give a
3,000
baby up for
pregnancy
adoption.
resources in America. There's over 3,000 pregnancy resources. We live in such an individualistic society where everybody is like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me? Like, we live in a really selfish society. So when someone gets pregnant and there's like, oh, well, I can't financially afford this child, I can't take responsibility for my actions, so I'm just going to kill it. That you're giving the child a worse life by killing it than bringing it into this world and figuring it out.
Most children that come out of that type of circumstance don't really have a great grand
I would love
life.
to see a statistic on that.
I don't have a
I-
statistic. I have friends that have come from that circumstance, and I feel like you have it. Like, where were you raised?
Why does that matter?
Because it does matter. You're a
No,
part
no,
of
no. You're
social-
trying to be condescending because
Oh, it's not
I grew up-
condescending, baby.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's,
it is.
It's just straight up forward. Like,
do you know who gets the most abortions?
So, what's your statistic? I'd love
Yeah,
to hear.
disenfranchised-
Black
Franchise-
women.
yes,
and they
disenfranchised
get them
groups of
over
women.
and over again as
yes,
birth
because
control.
of lack of education and resources.
Lack of education. Everybody knows
Yes.
sex produces a child. That is like I knew that at 5 years old.
Yes,
if I
I'm
have sex,
glad
I'm gonna,
you knew that you were well educated
so what
on sex and reproduction. Like
Well educated.
education systems are based on the funding is based on property taxes. So if you live in Section 8 or lower income housing, your schooling isn't funded as much.
I didn't learn
and
sex
aren't
in
liberal
school.
places have the
Where'd
most
you learn
money?
sex from? I'd love to know.
I thought
I
liberal
mean, maybe
places,
a lot of
liberal
maybe
bastions
friends.
have the
From your
most money.
two-party
spent.
household? Yeah, a lot of people don't come from a two-party household. They come
Exactly.
from broken families, and that's like the majority.
So you're saying
That's why
So you're
poverty
saying
is a
they should
cycle.
kill their child if
It's
they
not
can't
killing. I don't
believe it's
financially
murder.
afford it.
It's not murder if
I don't
it's in the
think-
beginning stages.
How is it not murder?
I don't because life doesn't begin at conception.
Yes, it does.
Period.
Yeah, it does.
Science has
just an
proven that. The
opinion.
Bible proves it.
science
Like,
has-
The Bible,
that.
we're not
They
debating the
prove they
Bible.
have.
We're not in a religious debate, baby.
I
It
think
doesn't
I think
matter.
at 6
It doesn't-
weeks is the first time that the nerve.
We're just
endings
having a
have the
conversation
first-
that's non-biblical.
oh, I
You
mean,
know, there
you
is
can
a life
call
that
it
happens when the
non-biblical.
sperm meets the egg. If it actually anybody wants to find
the
out if
zinc
life
spark.
happens, and actually, and you know what? A woman can feel it. I know I felt it when I got pregnant with my daughter. And why? It's because it's calcium sulfate mixed with magnesium.
Okay,
the
I feel
ovum,
when a guy
the
nuts in me,
egg,
does
the
that mean it's
ovum
conception?
is the calcium sulfate, and the
Bitch, I
sperm
feel-
is the magnesium.
I feel when a guy nuts in my mouth. Is that conception? I literally feel
No,
when
now
a
you're
guy.
just being raunchy.
Well, no,
You're just
It's not
It's
raunchy. It's
acidic.
just like
It is.
it's straight up. I think you're very like.
I don't think calcium and magnesium combining create.
Yeah.
And it does. It creates
does.
a creates a bang in the
At
uterus.
the
It does.
moment
A light.
of conception. It's
Yes,
called,
it does.
It's called the zinc spark.
Yes. And you
I
can
will-
feel
I will
it.
agree.
Some women feel it.
I will agree with what you said about the environment at home not being right to bring a child into the world. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But we do have the option. And granted, I think I used to have a different view, and I agree. I used to believe the way you did. So, it's not a baby yet. But I believe,
Even if-
but I believe differently now. And yes, it may be not desirable to carry a baby around for 9-10 months, but you do have the option of giving that baby up for adoption.
I don't think that's
do
the
gotta move
argument
it
that
on.
I'm making.
We can come back to it.
Yeah,
we
yeah, of
can
course.
come back to it
Of
later, time
course.
permitting. Really quick, some chats, and I think we're going to get Andrew here in just a moment. Kat Spencer that with the 100 British pounds, thank you. Or wait, is that the... Yeah, okay. I'd like to remind women that men made laws to protect them, and those lucky enough to be born in the West should be grateful. It doesn't follow Abrahamic law. Feminism exists because men allow it. From Kat Spencer, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it very much. Then we have Chef Dill Pickles here. Uh-oh.
Chef Dill Pickles donated $200. Life begins at conception.
Cope harder.
harder to hers.
Cope harder. I love that word. Harder.
I love it.
Wait, where is
I
it?
like beer league. Hooers.
She was a hoa.
Yes.
B, she was a hoa.
Yep.
It's true. All right. Thank you for that, Chef Dill Pickles. Good to see you in the chat, man. He has a follow-up, and he says, Chair 2, what substance are you on tonight?
I'm on life, baby. This is me all day, every day. Anxiety. I have like the most high-strung anxiety.
Okay.
But if you were wondering, it's Lalo. No preservatives, no additives. We don't do tequila that has chemicals in it. Gross.
Okay. Clayne, Chair 1 is a victim of idiocy, also a victim of woke culture. Chair 2 has an obvious...
I do. Oh my God, I have an oral fixation. Thank you, baby. Clayne.
Okay. Chair 2,
Clayne, slide into my DMs.
Or Chair 7, love your arguments. Where is Andrew? Need some more decent arguments. I think we're going to get him pulled up here in just a moment. Thank you, Clayne.
You,
Appreciate
honestly,
it.
you're valid.
Thank you,
Yes.
Thank you. And let's see here. Well, Chair 7's... You're married.
Yeah.
But she has a book
But she's
too.
a psychiatrist. Or
She's like an actual
therapist.
Oh, okay. I thought he was hitting on you,
Yes.
but no, he was just saying he loves your arguments.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
She's a book too, everybody.
so-
Check out her book.
Thanks, girl.
All right. I'm going
books,
to
like
go
you buy
back
it.
there in just a sec. Wait, Felicia, are you able to just take my seat for a moment while I... Oh, you're getting some water? Okay.
Where are you going,
Once you're
Brian?
back, I'll have you just take my seat, and then we'll get Andrew pulled up. Andrew, thank you. Good
I'm
to
gonna have
see
to
you.
use the restroom before Andrew.
Yeah, just
I like actually.
wait,
general
though. Somebody's
anxiety.
there.
Yeah. Of course,
Pasty,
of
thank you
course.
for the soup chat. Appreciate it. Here, while I'm just waiting on that, let me see if there's anything we needed to get into here. I'll do one quick note before we get Andrew pulled up. What is it? Actually, we'll come back to it. Okay, guys, if you can talk amongst yourselves. I don't know if you had another question for them.
I mean,
If you
I
wanna
want
get back
I
to
just
it
want
really
to keep
quick.
going on the abortion argument.
Oh, we're
because
gonna
I
keep
don't-
going?
Well, I don't think we ever got to like a conclusion.
I don't think
we can
there's
get to a
ever like an
conclusion.
actual conclusion with the abortion argument because there's such a differentiation or whatever, like between, is that the word, differentiation? So I'm not really
Well,
good
we're never gonna agree
Yeah, no,
on
yeah,
it.
of course, yeah.
There's a lot
Have you
of...
had an abortion before?
No.
I'm fucking with you. I know you
Obviously not.
haven't.
Have you?
No, I've not. But I have friends who have, and they were in really bad circumstances. And like, I saw from their perspective what they went through. And before I had a different viewpoint, and then I saw what they went through. I was like, wow, like I understand now.
Do they regret their abortions?
No, why would they regret it?
Because 90% of women regret their abortions.
No,
Look
the
that up,
baby,
look that up.
like, it was not gonna have a good life. Like, the baby was not.
How would
So
you
we-
know
we
that
just
though?
kill it.
How
We
would
just
you know
murder.
it doesn't have a good life? Like you can't just eliminate their life based on chance.
Have you had
You
an
know what I mean?
abortion?
No.
Do you know anyone who has?
Everybody,
I actually do know somebody.
raise your hand if you've had an abortion.
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
raise our
come
hand.
on.
Brian, how many have you had to cover the cost of?
I don't know.
Brian, have you?
Have I been pregnant? Yes.
Yes. Have you been pregnant, Brian?
I just want to say
It's got me pregnant.
there's a lot of discourse in academia of how much we should consider morality and religion when it comes to creating or having these discussions, but when it comes particularly to creating policy. So these conversations are important because there are people who believe there is religious backing and moral backing to why there should be a law, or there's other people who
And
think
let's look at who's making these stupid ass bag policies in Washington right now. Yeah, no, I wouldn't trust any of these fuck bags making fucking policy at
All
all.
money.
At all. At all.
Abortion can damage your body, and I have a friend who had done it, and now she can't have a baby at all.
How long did she like wait to have the abortion?
I'm not sure, but she's had it like 2 times, and she can never have a baby at all, and she wanted children. So what do you have to say about that?
I wonder what the statistics are on how often someone becomes unable to bear children after an abortion.
I also wonder what
if
her
it's a
health
safe
was
abortion. If it's a safe abortion, usually there's no issue with conceiving after. I don't know the statistics though. I
don't
do
know
think it's
either.
rare, but that is very sad.
Since I've had one, I will say I was very young.
Of course.
I was not in the position to, I made bad decisions. I chose to take the pill, go home, and pass it. And it was very traumatizing. I bled everywhere, and it was gnarly. I can't say that I regret
Sorry,
it
baby.
because, again, like some people maybe think that child would probably not have a decent life, even though I would have made it work if I would have had it. But I have had a child, and he's healthy, and it was just, 20 years ago, it was different, and it was just a decision, and I can't go back, and that's it. I'm not.
Would you have changed
No
your
regrets.
mind?
No regrets. What?
You wouldn't have changed your mind if you were back then, like knowing
No.
what you know now?
No.
I don't.
I made a decision, and I stick with it, and that's it is what it is.
That's how I feel.
can't go
I
back.
feel like when you make a decision, you
No
make the
regrets.
decision. You shouldn't like. I understand the morality of it. Like,
one
oh
time, I'm not
no,
condoning
you're
it,
gonna go
like-
to hell. You're killing somebody, but
But even if we take religion out of it, you were mentioning removing religion and morality out of
Andrew's gonna have to go pee.
law.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, not removing it. It's just there is conversation of how much of morality and religion should we consider when we create policy.
I think if we're not considering morality, then why?
No, we are. It's just to what extent do we think, oh, what if this child cured cancer? It's like that debate, whereas we could realistically look at the position the woman is in now and if it would benefit her life or if it would benefit the child's life. So it's just kind of this balance of morals and religion and literature and academia and just having these discussions. I think it's a balance. I don't think we should remove morality. I think there should just be a level of it to consider.
I guess, and now that I'm thinking about that, I guess I couldn't really pose that question because I have other views that potentially would go against morality. So
Exactly.
I'm considering
especially when
that.
it comes to like legality.
Morality is
in
so
the court
subjective.
system.
It's
Well, more
so
so
damn
I'm thinking
subjective.
about crime and
I don't think
consequence,
murder is
right?
subjective.
Well,
I
that,
think that's
I mean-
pretty
Well,
like.
we have a different opinion on if it's murder.
Okay,
though,
so
as well.
why when a pregnant woman gets shot or killed, why is it a double homicide?
Because it wasn't her choice.
That
Like,
literally
if she
makes
was-
no
if
sense.
she was trying
Right?
to carry the
That
child-
literally makes no
Well, if
sense.
she wanted to carry